Shane, what is a balanced diet in 2025?
A balanced diet. I mean, whatever it is that the person is eating, one thing I would always say is that there's no one diet fits all. So certain people would require certain things that perhaps might make another person feel ill. So a balanced diet just looks like it was certain herbs.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, why am I saying is take out before you put in? And then the certain things that I did add in were sarsaparilla, burdock root, yellow dot, dandelion root, and I started incorporating raw beets into my diet.
I think you hit me somewhere in my head because I'm one of those person that focus a lot on protein, and you mentioned that one of the myths is people think that they need more protein than they should. Can you walk us through that, please, so that I can understand and other people can also understand?
There are certain foods with E numbers. You can actually look on the back of certain warning labels as well that say that certain E numbers can make certain dysfunction for kids. So it make them hyperactive and all these kind of stuff, and certain food coloring.
Somebody would say, I'm a vegan, I don't eat chicken nuggets, so that's not applied to me. But this is a plant-based chicken nugget. It actually have more things in it.
Yeah.
It actually have more things in it. Are you sure the food that you're eating is actually healthy? In 2025, we are surrounded by diet trends, wellness fads, and so-called superfood. But many of them do more harm than good. Today we are cutting through the noise with Shane, a nutritionist that had its own battle. He is here to debunk the biggest nutrition myth, share how diet really affects your health. Stay tuned, you might be shocked to what you may learn. Welcome to the Ivy Cancer Podcast, where we discuss cancer, health, lifestyle, and healing. And today it is no different. If you're new here, my name is Brian, and this podcast was born out of the death of my mother, who died from breast cancer. By subscribing to this channel, you're helping me to support the financially deprived community who are struggling with cancer. Don't forget to give this video a like. Thank you. Let's get into the episode. Most righteous and eternal Father, we thank you for this gathering, and as we come now, we just ask that you may bless us and open our knowledge and help us to learn something. Bless our audience that will be viewing this in Jesus' name. Amen. Shane, what is a balanced diet in 2025?
A balanced diet. I mean, whatever it is that the person is eating, one thing I would always say is that there's no one diet fits all. So certain people would require certain things that perhaps might make another person feel ill. So a balanced diet just looks like, having your fibers, getting your protein from certain things. However, even when it comes to getting protein, sometimes that's looked at too much. People want to have an abundance of protein within their diet, but if you have too much protein, your body can only use so much, and you just gotta expel the rest. And if you have as I'll say, too much, then it's going to be kind of stressful on certain of your organs. So you don't want to have too much protein. You want to look at certain amino acids. Amino acids are key because essentially that is how our bodies make up the protein anyway. So when you're looking at having that, you want to get that from certain dark green vegetables. You want to get it from certain fruits, your darker berries, your melons, all of these kind of things as well. So some people, they function better on meat. Some people function better on vegetables and lentils, beans. So it really varies in terms of the person and how they perform at their best. But what is key, if you're able to get blood work done, is to see exactly how you perform your best, after consistently eating certain things and then getting some blood work done, seeing your iron levels, your ferritin, your folate, all of these things that, will contribute to you being your best, your calcium, magnesium, zinc, all of that, copper. And, but the main thing is to eat as little ultra processed foods as possible. That's one thing I would say.
Okay, the fact that you mentioned ultra processed food, yeah. I have a few foods here that I want to address
Yeah.
the fact that you said that. But I will leave that to further on in the video, because the fact that you said that is very interesting for me, and I'm sure my listeners would find it very interesting, because processed food is actually something that's easy, when you're on the go. And some
Yeah.
people find it as a everyday means of eating or accumulating their calories for the day. So
Mm.
we're going to get into that. But I want to know, who is Shane, and tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah.
How Max Nutrition was formed.
Okay. So I'm Shane. I was born with sickle cell. Used to have to take tablets daily. If not daily, it'll be every other day. And I'm talking about some really strong stuff, stuff that are made with codeine and morphine based and all these kind of stuff. And when that doesn't work, I'll have to end up in the hospital to give even stronger medications for the pain. So, for those who might not know, sickle cell is a blood disorder that it's not something you can catch. It's basically what you're born with when there's a genetic mutation within your mother and your father. And it can result in numerous amount of things, it can result in certain organ damage, pain, discomfort, fatigue, anemia, you name it. So, but what the main thing is like I was giving all of my power away. So I only saw myself being able to get better through the advice of the doctors and my hematologist and all of these kind of stuff until I started researching. So early 2020, I started thinking I need to have a conversation because this isn't a quality of existence I was happy with. So the fact that I was always high off of the medication, had terrible gut health, always constipated and having to take other things for the side effects of the tablets that I was having to take. And that was just so many tablets in the end that I was taking. So I was asking the doctors, when can I lower this? And they was like, it's more likely you're going to have to up it. And that wasn't something I was really wanting to hear. So I took a few drastic changes. I took some time to study. So during that study time, I started studying nutrition, metabolism, and just something called the endothelial cells, which essentially is a system of the blood flowing and how it flows. And with sickle cell, it is a blood flow issue. So that was tightly linked to sickle cell and why I actually looked into it. So doing so now, I realized a lot of the problems I was running into, a lot of it I was causing a lot of those problems, but we're not really told that, you shouldn't really be eating certain things. What we're really told is if you don't have an appetite, go to snacking, but that's some of the worst advice that can be given because a lot of those snacks are trans fats. And then I started seeing the damage that trans fats does to the blood and the
Mm.
viscosity, which essentially is the thickness of the blood. Now, that research and those studies are done on people without sickle cell. So that's without a blood disorder, people who are generally healthy. And it shows the vast changes in consistent eating of trans fats. So imagine someone who already has blood flow issues. So when I started putting two and two together, I started realizing there were certain things I needed to omit from my diet, like chocolate hobnobs. That was one of my vices, and it was very, very addictive.
Mm-hmm.
And these foods don't really have nutrition in it, don't have much nutrition. It's just nonsense ingredients, and
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of E numbers. And E numbers are linked to dysregulation. Certain E numbers are linked to dysregulation of the gut, the microbiome. Even like the additives and preservatives, they're linked to certain insulin resistance issues.
Mm-hmm.
So, long story short, I started looking at certain things and realizing, okay, once I'm taking these things out and adding other things in that can help with blood flow, started going back to the hospitals and getting blood work done and realizing, oh, okay, so this is how I improve this. And it,
Before you carry on, what are some of the things that you added on to blood that makes it blood flow?
yes, a good question. So it was certain herbs.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, why am I saying is take out before you put in? And then the certain things that I did add in were sarsaparilla, burdock root, yellow dock, dandelion root, and I started incorporating beets, raw beets, into my diet.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm doing that, I'm making sure I mix it with vitamin C, so key limes or lemons, because it's called non-heme iron, that kind of iron that's in the veg, and it's not the most easily absorbable into the blood or into your system, basically, because it has plant defenses. So you need to look at how you can break those defenses down. Key limes is a way of doing it, as well as soaking, and even if you wanted to cook it lightly. So I started incorporating those things into my diet, and as well as good sources from sea moss. Um, then I started looking at other things for pain instead of blood flow, which were adaptogens. So like chaga, reishi, those kind of things, which help with, the mutating of cells. It has antioxidizing effects. So yeah, I started incorporating all these things. People saw the benefits in me. So I started helping other people out, but then it became a bit of a cost. So that's when I turned it into a business.
Okay. So back to when you said you went to the doctors and you start checking up your blood work and you realize this is what triggered in your head at that present moment?
That present moment showed me that I can make so many changes that I was never told about. And that it just comes from eating, general, what we do every day. Something that we do every day can really affect the way we think, feel, and just exist, to be honest. I mean, and it sounds obvious, but it's not really something that we kind of correlate.
And this was in 2020, you said.
Yes, early 2020 is when I started.
So since then, have you had any episode of sickle cell?
Yes, I did. So I had one in 2022,
Mm-hmm.
but that one was really what showed me that what the path that I was on was 100% working. And why I say that is because so with sickle cell you can get something called a chest crisis, and that is really really terrible, and it can put you in hospital. Whenever I got chest crisis, I was in hospital for a minimum week, 1 week. Sometimes it was up to 2 to 3 weeks. So when I got that, I was with someone and I had to cut it short because all that time, because of the changes that were happening in my life, I was having so much energy and all of these kind of things with my health. It was so beneficial. It's like I kind of forgot I had sickle cell. So I was doing silly things, not resting, not dressing appropriately. And so that's when the chest crisis hit. So I was, working consistently without no rest days. And then so I went to the hospital, drove myself there, struggling to breathe because of the chest crisis. It was so bad they had to wheel me to the certain right areas because that was during COVID times, and I hadn't been to the hospital for so long. Things had changed, and I didn't realize that we're not supposed to be in a certain area. That's the COVID bit. So they wheeled me to the right part. They gave me one injection for painkiller, and then everything had gone. So I was like, "Oh my god, this is drastic," because it showed me that my body is different now.
So prior to that, when they give you that injection, did it react the way it reacted? No.
No way. Not in that way. So it would just about touch the pain, but you still have to go into a ward and
Oh,
admission because you're still struggling.
I
I was
see.
able to stand up. I told them, okay, cool, I'm ready to leave. They were like, no, because your body's showing that you have been through a lot of something quite traumatic because my oxygen was low, my blood pressure was high. There were certain levels of my biomarkers in my blood. So they said, no, please do stay. So I did stay just for them to look at certain things, but I was no longer in any pain. And that's what showed me the changes that I incorporated 100% were working. It was no longer a question.
So before this episode, before 2022, how often you used to visit the hospital?
Oh, very often. So they had like a day ward. So, if you didn't want to get admitted, but you did want painkillers in terms of to get onto the sickle cell crisis, so it would be 2 to 3 times a week. Sometimes it will be like maybe once a week, and then I might skip a week if I'm able to handle it at home. But the majority of the time, it was each week,
Mm.
and that's a ward. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, in your own understanding, do you think you have the sickle cell on a level, or do you think you probably heal yourself from it?
So I would say the sickle cell is still there, but I definitely have it on a
Under
level where
control.
it's completely different. It's completely to effect of me being able to extend the life of my turnover of cells, which is why I get more energy, which is why I don't experience the pain. And I'm not going to say I never ever get any pain or discomfort. So let's say I'm working consistently like 2, 3 weeks and I don't have a rest day. There might be a day when I get up and I feel a little bit of aches and discomfort, but then I draw for a certain tea. It's no longer the painkillers that I will take. It's a tea
Ah.
that will allow me to my body to relax, and then I'll just take a chill day. So nowadays, I really just put a date in my calendar. Today is a day where I just chill. So because sometimes you can forget, when you really don't feel the same symptoms of sickle cell anymore.
So did do the doctors see difference in your blood, in your tendons? What did they say?
100%. So I even had an appointment recently, and they was asking me was I able to raise my hemoglobin. And so I'm usually about a low 7, and then they saw it raised to a high 8, and they were like, "How was I able to do so?" So I explained to them, it was just by taking a few herbs and incorporating some beets and just altering my diet. And they said, "Okay, that's brilliant that you've been able to do that, but make sure that you really don't take too much of the herbs because the herbs have side effects." Okay, so I said, "What about the chemicals and the tablets that you're
Yeah,
taking?"
yeah.
And they said, "Yes, we know that that does have side effects, but these are side effects that we can control." And yeah,
This is one of the ironic thing about medication, because when I've looked on some painkillers, those painkillers actually have herbs in them. Yeah.
yeah, mm,
But what they do, they take a fraction of the herb and put most of their chemical. But
yeah,
these chemical have so much side effects, and they're advising you to be careful. Bear in mind, this herb is what God created from the beginning of foundation. And he distinctly said in his word that he's giving us herb and seed as healing
mm,
and
for
food.
sure, yeah,
So it hasn't done anything bad to us as side effect back in the days. So what would
mm,
be the changes? This is one of the thing, and that leads to my question: like, what is the biggest nutrition myth that you come across?
Oh man, this might be a bit controversial. So I'm actually studying a few things at the minute. The biggest nutrition myth I would say is the amount of protein that we need. I would say, people focusing on so much protein, but not realizing the byproducts of the protein that we are eating. Um, Another one, yeah, I think I'll just stay with that.
I
Because I
think
think
it,
it's
I
one of
think I think you hit me somewhere in my head, because I'm one of those person that focus a lot on protein.
right.
And one of the reasons why, because I'm a thin person. I'm not that muscular like you do, but I'm a thin person.
Uh,
And
uh,
I don't go to the gym anymore. I work out at home,
okay.
you know. And one of the reasons why I don't go gym anymore is because my mom was a constant figure in my life. So when I'm at the gym, she would normally call me. When I'm working out, I would probably chat for a few minutes and I would say, Mom, I will call you back. But when I'm at the gym and I'm not getting that call, it does trigger some emotional in me. So I
Right.
just stay home from then. But I'm heavily focused on protein. And you mentioned that one of the myths is people think that they need more protein than they should. Can you walk us through that, please, so that I can understand and other people can also understand?
Yeah, yeah, okay. So the main thing is the source of the protein, right? So let's say, you're going to be getting some people, for instance, they'll just go to like if they want something quick and they want some protein, they go to like a chicken shop or something and they'll buy something that, is chicken based for the protein, but then you got to question and think what else is in that, you know? So of course, yes, the body needs protein to synthesize certain muscles and build up. But when you have too much protein, as I was speaking on in the beginning, you can affect your kidneys, certain organs within the body because what else is being broken down from that protein? You need to think about, okay, cool, this animal with how is it being treated? What's the additives that are into this? How much is the oil being reused in certain of these shops? Um, So, and even the source of the protein. So animals, I know again it's going to be quite controversial, but animals, where do they get their protein from? You
Yeah.
know, yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't even need to go.
I heard Yaki always ask this question, like when you look on the cows, how thick the cows are, where they get the protein from. When you look on the gorilla, how thick the gorilla is, where you think they get the protein from. But
Yeah,
it's really controversial, isn't it?
it is. It is a very controversial topic because when you think about it, a lot of it is based on old school promotion and marketing techniques. So, for instance, let's say breakfast being the most important meal of the day. Get
Mm-hmm.
your Kellogg, get your bacon, your sausage, your eggs, your hearty breakfast is what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the least sort of hearty thing that you can do. That's one of the worst things in terms of the bacon, the sausages, the eggs, the oil, all of that. Your hash browns, going to the calf and getting these breakfasts because okay, cool, this is a plate of protein and it's gonna be good for me. Is worse for you than it is better for you.
But what if I
You
look
know.
about that at home? What if I prepare that at home?
Okay, so yeah, if you're preparing it at home, at the end of the day, you know more of the source of what you're using. It's going to be less oils. The oils are going to be reused less, but you're still having. So let's say if it's bacon, bacon is a 100% known carcinogen, and
Known carcinogen.
yeah, and it's a known carcinogen. They put it in the same category of like cigarettes and all of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 100%. You
Oh,
can look it
wow.
up. So having that consistently and daily, knowing that there's certain cells within your body that are being broken down, and
I,
it's
I think I know it's high in, is it trans fat?
yeah, trans fats are really a problem as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, when you look at the bacons and the sausages, all of these things as well. I had a client who was suffering from certain cancers as well, and she was giving a list of foods to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And on that list of foods to eat, they were saying because you need to keep up your energy, you should have bacons and a sausage and egg, but it's a known carcinogen. So when you when
What?
you look at it and you question why is the NHS telling people to eat known carcinogens when the person already has cancer?
Did you think that these doctors, some of these doctors are not actually clued up, or are they just doing this purposely? What do you think?
I
Because
honestly,
as you said, because they one profession said, like, we need to remember that doctors go to school to bring money in, basically. So
yeah,
if you supposed to tell them that eat this, that is actually healthy for you and that will reduce your cancer cell, then they won't get any money.
right,
So I'm
right.
just wondering, if is it that these doctors do not actually know some of these things, or are they just deliberately telling you these things to get in the funding? I don't know.
Yeah, I honestly think like this is my opinion. My personal opinion is that so I'm closely speaking with one doctor who I'm actually working with, and they get taught nutrition very minimally. Most
Ah,
of it is the pharmaceutical side.
right.
So they're going off of a basis that has been it's very, very old now, I don't know if you look back and look about like the Rockefeller School of Teachings and all of these things where it moved to a more petroleum-based way of medicinal treatment. Now, that is what they're taught, and that's what they believe to be what's going to be helping. A lot of them are more clued up, and they know that they should be taught more nutrition when it comes to the body, because what makes up the body is the nutrition that you eat. You are what you eat, as they say. So I
Right.
don't think the majority of them are doing it purposefully, but when you're taught something for so many years
You
and
just
then you
stick to
pay
it.
for that teaching,
Hmm.
that's like that way of that what they believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk about breakfast. How important is meal timing?
Meal timing is very, very crucial because when you get up from your sleep, for instance, your body's still going through a certain amount of detoxing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really important to break your fast, which breakfast, with high water based fruits. something that's actually going to fuel your body. Even if it's a tea, but it has certain flavonoids and all of these kind of things in it, it's really important to break your fast lightly and not something that's so bulky. I understand for people who have day shifts and they want to be kept full and all of these kind of stuff because, there might not be another way around it. But you can still break your fast in that way and just bring something with you to work to sustain you throughout the day. But it's really important to space between meals, and that's something that we're not really doing anymore. Because after we've eaten a meal, we're like, okay, cool. Now what can we snack on? And we snack and we snack and we snack until the next meal, and then we have that meal, and then we snack and we snack and we snack. So we're not really giving the body time for it to do its thing, which is essentially homeostasis, which is how we're supposed to be, the healing process.
Mm-hmm.
When your gut is always full, it can't focus on healing you.
So, because I am guilty of that as well. However, I break my fast at 10, but society, these trend that I've opened the video with, has led me to believe that we should eat a strong protein fiber breakfast in the morning when we're breaking our fast. But you are saying it's best to have something light, watery fruits, etc.
Yes, it is because your body, as I was saying, your body's still going through a certain amount of detoxification. So as soon as you add in something that's, especially if it's as soon as you get up, you're adding something that's so heavy on the gut, and the gut needs to do so much work to break it down to get the benefits from it, and then put away the byproducts of the nonsense, whatever it is, the meal that we're having.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important to start slowly, prepare the gut. How I like to break my fast is either like something bitter, like a smoothie or a tea. So, you're preparing your gut for something that's going to be coming later on, and that will be the meal.
So okay, for last month, I've break my fast with a smoothie, well strong protein smoothie. Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, it also depends on the ingredients, right, that you're putting in there.
So it's mainly like walnuts, beacon nuts or pecan nuts, a bit of protein powder, oats, pumpkin seed, flaxseed, basically cinnamon powder. So that's what my morning protein would look like in my shake.
Yeah, that does sound good. It's also about how the nuts as well. If you're able to soak them before, and to kind of break down the defenses, because it's similar to certain dark leafy greens as well.
So soaking the nut is good before you blend it.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So after I drink that protein shake, what I've started to do now since last week is to incorporate back my normal breakfast because I'm trying to space my meal without eating any snacks between. So what I would normally do is have the shake, have a handful of berries, strawberry, blueberry, or raspberry, whatever berry it is. I would have a handful of that, and I would also have probably 4 eggs and some salads with that. What are your take on that?
Yeah, I mean that's something that's you're going to get a lot of amino acids from it. As long as you're spacing things in between, as you said as well, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
You're fueling your cells for the rest of the day to come. You're actually giving your body energy. So
Yeah, because I don't, after I eat that packed meal, I don't eat anything until my lunchtime, which is half half 3.
okay,
And then
yeah,
after that, then I will snack on something around 6 o'clock, and that's it for my daily meal.
okay, that's really good. That's really good.
Yeah,
Especially the fact that your last bit of eating is at 6 o'clock. So
right,
you're allowing your body to actually rest and recuperate through sleep.
right. So what you really eat for breakfast is important, in other words.
Yeah, it is. You just going to see how you want to fuel yourselves, what you want to give yourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
What role hydration play in our health?
Hydration is really, really key, and the type of hydration that we get. So, as soon as you get up, it's really good to have some water. But that water can also be in a tea form. So when I say water, you can have herbs, and that can be what fuels you the first thing in the day. Um, High water fruits like the melons, the watermelons, because it's also got it's got like the potassium and all these kind of things that are really gonna, it's like the electrolytes that are going to help the liquid that we're taking in actually absorb into our cells.
Mm-hmm.
Like got the sodium and all of that. So hydration is so so key, and that's another thing that's really overlooked. The type of hydration. Um, some people still drink from the taps, so
Yeah.
when you look at the type of hydration, it's very key to know that you're getting majority of the benefits without the negative side effects.
Okay. So you think tap water is unhealthy for us to hydrate with?
Especially like a lot of places in London, 100%. It depends where you are. Let's say you're in a place in Scotland where the Highlands are and all of these kind of stuff. Like tap water is something that comes with a lot of it's like what they call the hard water and the microbes and the fluoride within certain water sources. So tap water it definitely
So
isn't the
Are you saying Scotland water is better than London?
certain places in Scotland, yes.
You're telling me to move to Scotland now. Is that what you're telling me?
Anything you can, bro.
I don't drink tap water still, but to be honest with you, I've been looking on Scotland a lot, and I've been looking on Wales a lot as well because I like the countryside.
So do I.
And those places strike my attention, to be honest with you. So I may be looking to move to Scotland sometime in the future. What's the difference between eating for weight loss or for energy?
Okay, so when you're looking at weight loss, you're gonna kind of look at your what you're taking in and how you're expending the energy. So, for instance, if you are eating a lot, you're gonna want to do a lot more exercise and how to utilize that energy instead of it being stored. So once that energy is stored, you're more likely to, and there's a few other processes that go to do with it, but you're more likely to put on weight. So when it comes to eating for energy as well, if you know you're going to be working consistently throughout the day, you want to have something that's going to be like slowly fueling you throughout the day, like certain carbs. And it's really important to swap out certain carbs. Like let's say if you are consistently eating like certain white rice. Now, obviously, when you look at certain other countries, they live off of white rice, and they're fueled quite sufficiently. But it's a different kind of white rice. It's something that is passed through less processes as well. So when it comes to the
Ah,
white rice here, you want to look at swapping that out for like perhaps some quinoa or some millet. Those
millet.
are really, yeah, millet seeds. So they're really
I
really
didn't I did you probably need to send me that millet because I didn't know about that millet. What I use for what I swap my white rice for. I started with brown rice first, and then I
okay.
moved from brown rice to bulgur, and I'm
Yes, that's
between
good.
bulgur and quinoa, but I never heard
Right.
about the millet.
Okay, I'll send you that. Yeah, I'll send you that. It's,
Yeah,
it's really high in fiber,
yeah.
and I've got a good source of iron as well.
Oh, seeing. Well, you need to
Yeah,
you need to send me that.
I
Okay.
definitely will.
Okay. How do certain food impact mental clarity and our anxiety?
Oh, that's a good question. So, quite vastly, I would say, because there are certain foods with E numbers. You can actually look on the back of certain warning labels as well that say that certain E numbers can make certain dysfunction for kids.
Mm-hmm.
So it make them hyperactive and all these kind of stuff and certain food coloring.
And we see the
So
at the back of the ingredients.
I'll send you some links as well, so perhaps you could put it on the screen if you
Oh,
like.
please do,
Uh,
please.
yeah, and so it's really important to know that we're getting real food for the function of, and we want to look at certain omegas as well, because that is for clarity, of the mind as well. The mind really needs omegas and cholesterol and certain levels of cholesterol and that, but that's another kind of deep dive of something that perhaps we topic for another conversation with in
Mm-hmm.
terms of cholesterol when they say it's too high or too low or whatever. But yeah, the body needs cholesterol, the brain really needs cholesterol, and it's really important to eat certain real foods, not foods that are ultra processed, because by the time you've consumed it, you just want to keep consuming and consuming and consuming until your gut is so full with certain foods that it's not even foods that are beneficial for you. You really want to look at also serotonin. So when serotonin is made in the gut and it's a good amount of serotonin, you are able to also create. So it's a signal to create certain serotonin in the mind, which is linked to certain happiness and a certain feeling. One thing that is spoken about a lot, but it's a bit confused, is that the serotonin goes from the gut to the brain, but there's so many scientific studies that show that it doesn't cross the blood brain barrier, but it helps the brain to make its own serotonin.
Oh, interesting. You brought up back processed food. So let me touch that topic now.
Yeah,
Because I really want to get at the bottom of this. Right. So right
mm-hmm.
here I have a some chicken nuggets.
Right.
Um, on the energy on the label here, which
Uh-huh.
is the facts, the nutrition facts.
Mm-hmm.
It stated energy. It gives you 1,039 no 30 335 calories,
Yeah.
17%, fat 21 point 20.0 gram, which that is 30%, saturated fat 2.4 gram, 12%, sugar 0.3 gram, 1%, salt 83 gram, no 0.83 gram, 14%. How bad is this for us?
How bad is it? Okay, so it's a matter of we go to these foods and thinking, okay, cool, this is real food. It's gonna be like real chicken, so we're gonna get the benefits of it. But when you look at how certain chicken nuggets are made
Mm-hmm.
and what's actually just grinded together to
Mm-hmm.
put those things together, like a lot of these things. So certain places it's now not you're not able to use it, but there's something called meat glue. So they will
Right.
stick these things together so it looks like it's just a chicken breast or something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
when you look at the percentage on the back of that, it will show you how much chicken is actually in it.
Okay, as you said that, let me read the ingredients on this.
Yeah.
Maybe some of them I can't pronounce because I tell you these things. So ingredients, it said 62% chicken,
Okay.
water, rice, flour, rapeseed oil, uh, gram flour, maize or maize
Yeah.
starch, maize flour, pea fiber, potato starch, pea starch, salt raising agent, uh, diphosphates, sodium carbonate, dextrose, whatever, dextrose, spirit vinegar, stabilizer, xanthan gum,
Yeah.
lemon powder, thyme extract, black pepper extract, cumin extract.
And imagine you would think, yeah, you're just basically getting chicken nuggets, but look at
Chicken.
that long ingredient list.
And some of them I can't even pronounce.
Exactly. And there's certain studies that show like dextrose as well in terms of its certain links to anxiety and how the mind actually processes certain thoughts, depression. Then you have there was another ingredient that you saw the gum, the xanthan gum. Over time, consistently eating that, especially someone who already has certain issues with their gut, it's going to worsen the gut bacteria. It's going
Mm.
to worsen the microbiome. So imagine you're having that consistently, then you're looking at it, there's added rapeseed oil. And a lot of the ingredients, the ones that come first is the ones that have the most. And rapeseed oil was quite close to, I think, water that you mentioned. So
Mm-hmm.
there's quite a rapeseed oil in that. Then you got
Mm-hmm.
to think about, okay, cool. It's not, for instance, just the rapeseed oil itself. It's like how often was that oil used? You know,
Mm.
how was it actually processed? How was that oil made?
Mm-hmm.
And then okay, cool. And then there's all the other ingredients, and it's not real food. You know, when you look at the ingredient list, you're thinking, oh, okay, I thought I was just buying maybe chicken nuggets and some breadcrumbs and the maize or whatever, the potato starch. But then there's so many other things. So your body has to break all of that down to then get the goodness from it, and it's just too highly processed.
Okay. So somebody would say, I'm a vegan. I don't eat chicken nuggets, so that's not applied to me. But this is a plant-based chicken nugget, and on this fact sheet,
Might even be longer, to be honest. But
it
yeah.
it says uh, 10 gram of fat, 0.8 gram of saturated, 6.9 gram of sugar, which is more sugar than the chicken, and the salt it's 2.5 gram, which is also more. So the fat is even more, the saturated fat is probably less. On this ingredients it says I can't even start. I can't even pronounce this. Gherkins 48%, gherkin sugar, spirit vinegar, salt, acidity regulator, ac- um, acetic acid, flaming agent, calcium, chlorides, calcium extate, whatever. I can't even pronounce these words. Flavoring, preservative, potassium, water, wheat flour, iron, theanine, potato starch, wheat, gluten, drum wheat, or durum wheat, semolina, rapeseed oil, maize flour, rice flour, raisin agent. It actually have more things in it.
Yeah.
It actually have more things in it. Cause some of the things I don't even call out because I can't even pronounce them. What are your take on that? Because on the back of this it says it's 206 calories per serving, low in saturated fat. So give me your
Yeah, I
thoughts.
mean, so a lot of these products that we go to, like you may think, oh, because it says vegan, it's healthy. 100% it isn't. You know, there's certain people that go through the vegan lifestyle and they think, oh, veganism didn't work for me. But it's because of these products that they're trying.
That's what I
And it's
think.
not real food.
That's what I think because for me personally, I don't label myself with any form of diet.
Right.
However, I try to keep myself within a reasonable state where I probably eat this because today would be the only day I would probably eat meat.
Okay.
But when I'm eating my vegan, I tend to try eat raw vegan food, which
Right.
I get the product and I make it from scratch because I don't believe that this chicken nugget and this plant-based nugget is any much different. It's still processed and it's extra processed.
Yes, it's extra processed. So even when you look at certain meat comparisons, sometimes it might even be better to just eat the meat, to be honest, because it will have less
Exactly.
ingredients, less
Exactly.
work for the body to actually extract the benefits from it. But yeah, so the whole veganism lifestyle has been looked at a certain way due to a lot of these companies wanting to make money from these products and by saying, oh, it's vegan, it's this, that, it's healthier. But really and truly, how it's broken down is really big problem. You know, all of the stuff that's in it.
Okay. So, are there any specific nutrient that support the brain health and memory?
Yeah, again, it's like kind of omegas. So you really want to look at your omega 3. So it's called the omega 6 to 3 ratio. You
Okay.
really want to look that up and think, okay, cool, how can I get myself more in balance? So the majority of the world, a last test that was done, I believe, was 2024, showed that 95% of the world is out of balance. And that's the whole world, not just a certain continent or certain region. And when it's out of balance, so omega 6 is a pro-inflammatory. However, we do need a certain amount of omega 6.
Mm-hmm.
But problem is the ratio from omega 6 to omega 3 is way higher. Omega 6 is higher, omega 3 is lower. So, but you want your omega 3 to come up and make sure that you're having a certain amount of omega 3 because that's the anti-inflammatory side of the omegas, that we really need.
Mm-hmm.
But because of how the diet is and certain things that we eat, the majority of the foods that we eat are really, really high in omega 6. But when you get that ratio right, that's going to be so beneficial for your brain function, as well as so many other things.
As you mentioned, supplement. Um, do most people need to take supplement, or we can get everything from food?
Okay, so it's a bit different than it was like, decades ago in our parents' generation and our grandparents' generation, because the soil was so more fertile and it's like there was so much more nutrients in the soil from the foods that we're actually getting. So if you're going on certain diets and you want to look at how to make certain changes, if it's for health or other reasons, you want to look at making sure that you get those amino acids in. And if you can't get those amino acids in, then yes, it's beneficial to look at certain supplements. Now, as we age, for instance, we lack collagen. So collagen might be something that you want to start looking at to incorporate, but make sure it's a good type of collagen and it has no other nasty additives. Um, but yeah, supplements do have its place when you're unable to get it from a food source.
Okay. Earlier we talked about fiber. I got a platter here. I don't know if you
Yeah,
can see it.
I can. Yeah,
So on this platter, I got chia seed.
yeah,
I got some spinach.
mm-hmm.
I got flaxseed.
Right,
I got strawberry,
mm-hmm.
and I have some blueberry.
Right,
Now, when it comes to fiber,
mm-hmm.
a lot of people colon cancer is attributed to less fiber
Right,
based on what I've understand. So we are not getting enough fiber in our
mm-hmm.
diet.
Yeah,
How important it is that we know the difference because on this platter, all of it is listed as high fiber food, but I'm
mm-hmm.
certain that some of them fiber is higher than some. Can you differentiate the fiber level that I can get in out of 100 gram of fiber in these, and which one is more potent with fiber?
Okay, so I mean, the chia seeds would have more fiber than the majority of the stuff that are on there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but you also want to look at some of the beneficial other ingredients. So, for instance, if you're getting flaxseed, you're still going to be getting fiber.
Mm-hmm.
It will just be less than the chia seeds, but you're also getting the addition of certain ALAs, which are omega 3s. So obviously, chia seed you can still get certain ALAs and certain omega 3s, but flaxseed is higher in the omega 3s.
Mm.
Certain ligands and certain other minerals. But when you're looking at the chia seeds, you're also going to be getting calcium, which is good for the bones and all of these kind of stuff. So you really want to alternate, when you're having one thing, okay, cool, I've had the chia seeds for like a few days, then you add some flax seeds for the next few days and different berries and all of these kind of things. But fiber is really important, especially um, getting it from certain foods and insoluble fiber as well is really good.
So with the berries, the strawberry, the blueberry, and the spinach, do we get much fibers from those?
Yeah, you do. You do get fiber from that, and so one thing again is it's gonna be different type of beneficial things that you get from it. So you're gonna get fiber from both of those. When it comes to the strawberries, you're also gonna be getting like things like vitamin C, and but when it comes to the blueberries, you're gonna be getting antioxidants, a lot more antioxidants, which are able to help your body deal with adaptive stress. So, when you're just even breathing, we're going through certain oxygenated, stress through our bodies. So the more things that we eat with antioxidants is going to help us. So blueberries are higher in antioxidants. The strawberries are higher in vitamin C. You're going to be getting fiber from both of them.
So basically, in my head, it would be good enough then to incorporate this plate in our daily diet.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, it will be, because you're going to be getting the benefits of the fiber. Strawberries does have a bit more fiber, but you're also going to be getting numerous amount of other things that the bones need, your heart health, your hair, your skin, all of these kind of things. Um, and as you showed the spinach as well, it's really important to soak that first.
Oh, really?
And yeah, soak it in some water and if you can get key limes. If you can't get key limes, then lemon juice. Because again, it's the type of iron that's in that, which is similar to what I was talking about the beetroots, is non-heme iron.
Mm-hmm.
So it has its own defenses. So for it to be able to be broken down and for your body to utilize it, you should add water and some lemon juice or key limes.
When I'm doing my spinach or any grass or any vegetable salad, I normally soak it in key lime and bicarbonate
Okay.
to basically try and break down the pesticide
Right.
that's on it. But
Mhm.
I normally wash it off after
Yeah.
because but you're saying that it's good to soak it in it or cook it down with it.
So yeah, do your cleaning process. That cleaning process is good to do. To try and wash off what is on the surface of it,
Yeah.
and then obviously afterwards, once it's clean, then still leave it in some water and some lime.
Mm.
You know, like if you can do for 40 minutes to an hour,
Oh, really?
and yeah, if you did want to add some fire to it, low, very really low fire, because obviously the higher the fire, the more nutrients that are gonna die from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. What are some of the most common deficiencies that you found in your clients?
Anemia, one being quite a big one. Funny as well is like B12 deficiency. So I had a client who was eating meat, not just every day, but 2 to 3 times a day eating meat.
Mm-hmm.
And they were so deficient in B12. But what we're being told is to get your B12, you have to have meat. You have to do this. And
Yeah.
there's been so many clients that come to me who eat meat regularly, but they're deficient in B12. So sometimes it can be beneficial to have a supplement of B12. But again, when it comes to testing for B12, they test the B12 that's within the blood flow, your circulatory system. But the most successful B12 that can be for your body is when it actually absorbs into the cell. So some of the good tests to actually do is, even if it's not just for B12, is something called homocysteine, which shows that, if your body has incorporated and used up the B12 really well, then yeah, certain levels will be shown. But so yeah, that anemia, B12, iodine, some people are either lacking or on the other side of the extreme, really, really high in potassium, which is called hyperkalemia. So yeah, it really depends on what we're consistently eating and the foods that we have.
Earlier, you mentioned about a client of yours with cancer. This podcast was bred from the foundation of cancer. My mom passed from cancer, and that's how I have this notion to create this podcast, because I've seen so many people financially struggling with cancer, and I know that YouTube is something that you can financially benefit from it. So what I do is create this podcast to earn, not only spread awareness from these diseases or anything like that. It's also to earn from YouTube so that I can give back to people that are struggling financially. And that is the reason why I created this podcast, because I do find myself fund people from out my pocket momentarily. And it's kind of strenuous because I have my own bill. So
Yeah.
that is one of the foundation. That is the reason why I created this podcast. Now, a lot of persons that I've interviewed that's struggling with cancer at this present moment. I created a cancer group where people can come together and communicate, socialize with one another. And in that group I have a few professionals that probably could give advice and stuff. But I noticed with some of these people, we spoke about like diet, going through cancer, going through chemotherapy and radiation and stuff like that. you know the question I want to ask is, how can nutrition support someone that's going through cancer?
First of all, I just want to say, it's amazing work we are doing, and may your mum rest in peace for sure.
Thank you.
And it's just really driven a great cause of what you're actually doing. And yeah, you have one more angel watching over you for sure.
Cheers.
So in terms of nutrition, it's really important to know that if the person does have cancer, there's even certain beneficial foods that someone who doesn't have cancer, the food will be beneficial for them. For instance, let's say even avocados and onions, they have a certain amino acid in them which can spur on and help to grow certain cancer cells. So it depends on how rapid the cancer is within the body. There's definitely a food group that you will have to start looking at for the person to start eating. And we would think, okay, cool, yeah, avocados is very healthy, and of course it has healthy fats and all of these kind of stuff. But there's certain amino acids that 100% we should stay away from when it comes to a person who does have cancer cells within their body. So it's about trying to keep the your whole how can I say your whole vessel in an alkaline state,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to also do some parasite cleanses, and to be able to look at the gut and do some fasting if possible. Of course, it's not always possible, but you need to, each person is going to be different and different levels of strength and how you can actually help them to fuel their cells. But there's going to be a certain food plan, how you eat, when you eat, and, you know, even where you eat, certain food places that you might go out to that you really do like. Meat will be something that, you should kind of start restricting, mainly because of how it's broken down and how it can fuel certain cancer cells.
Okay.
So, yeah.
It's interesting how you mentioned fasting. And because of time, there's a few more questions I really want to ask you, but I may not be able to ask you those questions. But I want to get a few questions out because you mentioned fasting, and it's not all the time fasting is feasible. But
Yeah.
what are your thoughts though on fasting and cancer? Can it actually help? And if so, what are the cancers that, in your knowledge, that it cannot really help?
Okay, so I mean, it really depends on like the person state and where they are, how far developed the cancer is, if they even have energy. Because if they don't have energy, perhaps fasting isn't the best way for them to go. But we do know that when you fast to a certain level, and you don't put anything in the body that's going to make the stomach have to digest certain things, then certain what we call zombie cells, senescent cells, they get eating at. The body starts to attack it first, and it can help to take away certain cells like that are deformed and cancerous. So because a lot of the time when it comes to healing, as humans, we can get in our own way of our bodies wanting to heal, because the body is so sufficient. We don't have to look out for how we breathe, how we how the heart beats, how the organs take care of themselves, so we kind of take that for granted and we consistently just put things into our vessels due to cravings and all of these things. But where did the cravings come from? Is it a parasite? Is it something, you're eating something, you're thinking, why did I even eat that?
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that it's unhealthy for yourself. But yeah, fasting definitely has its benefits, but I agree that not everyone can do it. Um, Even when it comes to women as well, certain hormonal imbalances and, the shedding of, when they go through their cycle, when it comes to them fasting, it needs to be done differently as well. So it comes from a person to person basis.
Okay. Well, what are your opinions on the trends that speculating on social media, like the obviously the fasting trend, the keto, the diet, the plant based, the intermittent, all these? What are your thoughts on these trends?
That's the shit, it is really a thing of a trend, and with social media, all we're seeing is the benefits, we're not seeing any of the negatives, and then we'll see people's lives and think, wow, this person gained this from doing that specific diet. But they could say that they've done that diet, but we never really know what else they've incorporated. So it's really about maintaining a certain level of autonomy and realizing, okay, cool, this is what I'm going to do for myself. However, I'm going to balance it in a certain way that's beneficial for me, not just follow someone else's plan. See what your body actually feels like, what fuels your body, should I say. And our bodies speak to us in so many different ways, but we just ignore it. You could, for instance, me myself, when I used to snack a lot, I would find that I needed more sleep to feel energetic the next day. And when I started realizing that, I was like, okay, so this goes to show that my body going through so much to break down this food for it to then feel its best state the next day, like the next AM or whenever it is that I arise. Um, but yeah, a lot of these trends can really get out of hand, and if you're not really careful, some of them can do more harm than good.
Fair enough. Can you give us three advice people can use to improve their diet?
Just see what works for you. As I was saying, how our bodies really talk to us. Like, listen to your body. Let's say you've tried something new for a few days. How was your bowel movement? How was your discomfort? Did you have a lot of gas? Did you feel like the food was being digested slowly? Did you have energy? Monitor it, like actually take a journal and monitor and write these things down, so you're not even just guessing, and it's not just one day. Like, try it for a few days, maybe even a week, if there's no bad side effects, and see what fuels you the best, And again, it's your vessel, so when you go to the GPs and all of these kind of stuff, you can actually ask for your blood work. Fair enough if you don't know how to read it, like Google can help you, or reach out to someone like me. I will be able to help you to read your blood work to actually understand what it is that is happening within your vessel.
With that said, how can people connect with you?
Yeah, so people can connect with me on Max Nutrition. That's MACQUES. Then the word nutrition on TikTok. On Instagram, it's the same, but just between Max and Nutrition as an underscore. Yeah, just drop me a DM. I'm always replying to people. Just I have my own event that's coming up as well on October the 19th. But getting the flyers printed, it's not printed yet. I wish I could show you it. But yeah, that's going to be in Abbey Wood. So I put on events and showing the scientific background of the foods that we should eat and shouldn't eat, and showing you how it changes the blood viscosity. The change in blood viscosity is linked to so many different illnesses. I have another event November 19th. That's a free one with Barclays in Mayfair. And that one's going to be touching on insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is linked to so many different diseases and illnesses, from endometriosis, hormonal imbalances, as we know, diabetes, high blood pressure, numerous amount of things. So, and just taking you through the foods that are actually causing these damages.
Sounds like an event that we need, because I wanted to support this lady so much. She keep an event before. She's struggling with breast cancer, but she's healing her body naturally and she's getting progress. And she put on an event like about 2-3 months ago that was successful, and this month she will be having a special guest as well, speaking about prostate cancer. But I'm sure you'll be keeping more events, because I've seen you put on more events before, and I will definitely pass you on one of your events. So yeah, definitely. Max, we not on this podcast we have a closing and a opening and a closing tradition. And the opening tradition we prayed, and on the closing tradition we ask the guests to leave an encouraging word for the next guest coming up. And this guest, her name is Dr. Jackie Bell, and she said, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." And that she leave the verse that comes from Joshua 1 verse 9. And I will ask you to leave me your encouraging word. You can probably send me via an email, but it was a pleasure speaking to you. I had loads more questions to ask, but because of time, I can't ask you. And we have I had a wonderful time speaking to you, and it was lovely. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for putting this together. It's really important to get certain messages across to people, and as I say, the work that you're doing is it's really inspiring. So continue with your path, and yeah, I will leave that encouraging word. I'll send it via message, and I just want to thank you for putting this together, and thank your audience for watching.
Thank you. To my guests, thank you for joining in on the Ivy Cancer podcast. Remember to like this video, leave a comment in the comment section, and tell me what do you learn from this episode. Until next time, stay safe, stay blessed, and eat healthy.